I'm going to be going over 8 settings that I think that you absolutely should change on your Mac to make using it more convenient and more enjoyable. So anyway, without further ado, I'll get straight into it. And the first feature is hot corners. So as to how you find it, you go to System Preferences, and then under System Preferences, it's not where you're going to expect it to be. It's not under Displays or anything like that where it would make sense for it to be. It's actually under Desktop and Screensaver. And then when you go here, it's right at the bottom here, out of sight. And yeah, this lets you set certain hot corners or certain corners of the screen to be hot corners to trigger a certain command. So as you can see, for the top left, if I go to that, it opens up Mission Control. If I go to the bottom, it shows the application windows. So if there was more than one window, it would show all the windows. And desktop and screensaver. So yeah, that's hot corners. It's very handy. Number 2 is a feature that you probably won't like at first, but once you get used to it, it does make a big difference, and I think is a feature that you should get used to using, or anyone should get used to using really, and that's night shift. So you've probably heard of blue light filters at this point, and if somehow you haven't, they basically reduce the blue that's shown on the screen, because if you look at blue pixels, it's supposed to make it harder to go to sleep and stuff, so it basically reduces that. It makes the screen easier on your eyes, and hopefully lets you get a better night's sleep. And at night, when I have had to switch the blue light filter off, I do definitely notice the intensity on my eyes. It does feel a lot more intense on my eyes. So there's kind of 2 ways to go about this. You can go about it manually by going to Notification Center, scrolling up, and then enabling night shift here, which will just enable it manually for a bit, and then you can also disable it from there too. But if you want to go and set it, as I do, to start up when the sun's setting and to switch off when the sun's rising, then you go to Displays, and then you go to Night Shift. There's a whole dedicated tab for it, and you can set for the schedule to be sunset to sunrise, or if you want, you can also set a custom schedule. Number 3 is something that I have to give credit to Snazzy Labs for. This is a command that's copied basically directly from one of his videos. If you don't know him, he makes great, mainly Mac related videos, and I highly recommend checking his channel out. But anyway, as you can see on the screen, my dock isn't anywhere, it's hidden, and this tip basically lets you hide your dock and not have it be a pain to open back up. So firstly, I followed this tip of setting the dock to be on the left side of the screen. Trust me, give it a go for like a week or so and you will not look back. And if you do, I guess you can always move it back to the bottom. But yeah, after you do that, you go to Terminal, and then you basically paste in this command that I put in the description. And then you paste in this command that I put in the description and you press enter. I'm not going to do it again because I've already done it, but as you probably noticed when I did open my dock, it's instantaneous and it opens up a lot faster than it does by default. And yeah, that's basically what it does. It makes it not be a pain to open up your dock, because for some reason by default when you put your mouse there you have to wait for a bit to open up, and then it opens up really slow. If you do it yourself, you'll know what I mean. And moving on to my 4th tip, this one is quite subjective. You may or may not want to change this setting, although I think it's a good idea to do so because it's a bit unnecessary. So I don't see the point of having a clicking sound when it can be silent. So what you can do on Macs that have a forced trackpad, basically one of the ones that doesn't physically click down, but it just gives the sensation that it does click down, is if you go into trackpad, there's an option for silent clicking. So if I click on that, as you can see, you're probably not going to be able to hear it still, but there is a definite sound now. So again, this option is a personal preference thing, but it's definitely worth knowing that it's there if you do want to change it. So for number 5, all default Macs come scaled up basically like this. It looks kind of similar to how the previous MacBook Pros looked when they had a lower resolution, but it doesn't really give you a lot of space. The menu bar at the top is massive. Just everything looks too big. I personally think this one's a bit too small. As you can see, everything's kind of tiny on this one, but I think this is a good kind of middle ground between having the windows be big enough so that the text doesn't look tiny and also giving me more basically desktop real estate to have more windows or just to have more space, so everything doesn't look cramped. Number 6 is one to do with Siri, and change to that option basically makes Siri look like this instead. It lets you type to Siri instead of having to talk to it, which you wouldn't want to do in the middle of a restaurant or something like that. Well, you wouldn't be using your laptop in a restaurant, in the middle of a cafe or something like that. And how you do that is you go to accessibility, and then you go over to Siri, and then you go to enable type to Siri, and it's as simple as that. Number 7 is dark mode, and I absolutely love dark mode. I wish dark mode was on absolutely everything. When I go on to something like the YouTube dashboard or YouTube analytics or whatever, which doesn't have dark mode, it basically blinds me every time when I'm using it at night. Just every developer should make everything dark mode at this point. So this is how you change it on the Mac, because the Mac does have a dark mode now. So you go to general, and as you can see, dark is right here. Dark mode's right there, and light mode's right here. As you can see, the menu bar at the top's dark, windows are dark. It's so good. I'd recommend you at least giving it a go to see if you prefer it. It basically makes it so the laptop doesn't blind you at night, and that's a pretty nice thing. Number 8, again, is a bit subjective, although I think it's a good thing to do, especially if you have a lot of windows open at a time. I couldn't imagine not using this option if I had a lot of windows open. And that's to make Windows minimizing to the application icon. So this is really handy because, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of windows just clogging up the taskbar over here. Oh, I'm using Windows now. The dock over here. So how you do this is you go to dock, and you set this option here to minimize windows into the application icon. This just saves a lot of space, and the thing is, if you do want to see windows within a certain icon, you can just swipe down with 4 fingers and it will show all of the windows that are open. And yeah, those are my 8 settings I think that you absolutely should change on your Mac. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like, and be sure to let me know if there's any other videos you'd want to be seeing on this channel. So anyway, for now, I hope you have a great day. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.